Oh, hello there. I'm sitting here on the floor next to my shelf with the 70 Soul, trying to find some good stuff for a response to James Griffith's thread about soul, funk, and disco. A little bit of a home field, I admit that, because I like that music very much. Uh, Not easy to find the right stuff for a thread. To find uh, something really great among all this that I have. So let's see what I can figure out right now. Hello there, everybody, and happy Easter, because here in Sweden it's actually Easter Eve this day. And hello there, James Griffith. This is a response to your thread. There's a lot of great threads going on, and it's fun to do responses to them. You have a thread where you wanted us to show soul, funk, and disco albums, one a year during the 70s. So I felt like it was a little bit of my own backyard, as I do love 70s soul very, very much. It wasn't as easy as I thought, though. I've been collecting 70s soul for around 6 years now, and I realized that I have mostly 70s records from 74 until the end of the 70s. 70, 71, 72, and 73 are years that I been a little bit of forgotten, I think. So it was little. I have a little fewer of records from those years, but definitely I wanted to contribute to this, and I have picked together my own little stack of records from each year of the 70s. So let's start with the first year, of course, 1970. Maybe the hardest year, but still, I felt then it was natural to have Jackson 5 third album, and released on Tamla Motown. And you will see during this journey through the 70s soul that there were two major labels, Motown or Philly. And am I a Motown or Philly guy? I think I am mostly a Philly guy, even though I also like Motown during the 70s a lot. But the arrangements and the strings and the harmonies of the Philly sound, it can't be. I can't describe it. It's fantastic. But this is also real good. We have classic songs, classic Jackson 5 songs here. I'll Be There and Going Back to Indiana. So natural to start with that. 1970. 71, a real great album. More of a Motown feeling. Temptations and Sky's the Limit, 1971. This might be one of the best albums that Temptations did during the 70s. I like this very much. It's produced by Norman Whitfield, one of the more premier names of soul producers during the 70s. He's famous for producing Rolls-Royce albums, but he also were a part of Motown in the beginning of the 70s. This is Temptations that have realized during the creation of this album that it's time to step away from this little psychedelic style that they had during the albums in the late 60s and move towards a more trendy soul style now when the 70s are here. but it is an album who stands in the middle of the old Temptations, the old Motown a little bit, and with a feeling of the new 70s soul style. So I think this is a real amazing album. 72. And once I thought about it, the more logic it felt to have Stevie Wonder's Talking Book. Nothing much to say about that. It's a classic Stevie Wonder album containing two of his most classic songs, Superstition and You're the Sunshine of My Life. So, real classic. 73. Now we finally come into Philly. And I've felt like it would be natural to have the genuine Philly sound. The band who was responsible more or less for it, the orchestra in the background, MFSB, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, who also recorded albums of their own, real great albums. This is Love Is the Message, that also contains the theme to something that also will return in later on. The most important, one of the most important TV shows for soul artists, for soul music during the 70s. I'm talking, of course, about Soul Train, Don Cornelius' show, and MFSB did the theme called TSOP, The Sound of Philadelphia. And we're going to come back to the group that sings on this theme song. But this is a real great song, great album, that are having some vocal but also a whole lot of instrumental stuff. But this is a real highly recommended album. 1974, and one of my favorite combinations. I felt like I wanted to have some Gladys Knight. I really like Gladys Knight and the Pips. I haven't listened all that much to them during the 60s, but during the 70s they were amazing. And they here are working together with another of my favorite, Curtis Mayfield. And it is one of these soundtracks that Curtis Mayfield made the soundtrack for, Claudine. And Gladys Knight and the Pips are doing all the tracks here, so this is a pure Gladys Knight album, even though it is a soundtrack. The movie I have never seen, but it is with James Earl Jones, Darth Vader's voice, and Diane Carroll, Dominic Devereaux in Dynasty, as the main actors in this one. But this is a fantastic album. I have only one complaint, and that is it's a little too short. It's only around half an hour. I wish it would be at least 15 minutes more. Coming to 1975, and the band that I talked about were vocal on the theme song for Soul Train. And of course I'm talking about the 3 Degrees. Another of my absolute favorite bands in the 70s soul. And I picked this one, 3 Degrees Live. A real great live album. Maybe one of the best live albums I have released on Philly, of course. And I like the orchestra. I like they're singing so fantastic. The girls are also very funny in the talking between the song. And real great live album. Soul live at its best. And while we're at the track of Soul Train, let's continue with 1976 and Soul Train Gang. Soul Train Gang from the beginning were the dancers in the background in the Soul Train show. However, Don Cornelius put together with a lot of the musicians and vocalists this band and called it the Soul Train Gang, and released 2 albums with them, as this is the second one. I hope to get a hold of the first one of these days, because this is real fantastic. It is funky, it is a little bit of disco between, but also smooth soul. This is amazing soul, real fantastic soul. And of course, can't deny this logo, Soul Train. Don Cornelius, of course, not only put together this band, he's also the producer of this album. So a lot of Soul Train shows on YouTube. Check that out if you can. We come into 1977, going back to Motown again, and an album that I bought a couple 2-3 years ago. Real great album. Thelma Houston and Jerry Butler. Thelma and Jerry. Thelma Houston, also another artist that I like very much. A fantastic singer with fantastic producers in her back. This is a duet album, and normally duet albums can be both this and that. It can be a little too slick, a little strange sounding, but it can also be like this, really great, where they actually have real fun together, and where you hear that they like singing together, and they actually have a great chemistry like these have. So the only thing I have against this album is that I have no idea why they would put in a cover version of a medley of If You Leave Me Now and Love So Right by Bee Gees. They don't fit in here. But besides that cover medley, this is a fantastic album, this duet album. 78, an album I bought in Uppsala 2 years ago. Also another one of my absolute favorite bands, Rufus and Chaka Khan. And this is Street Player. For once, not Motown or Philly. We have ABC Records. And this was final album for a couple of years before Chaka Khan actually tried to go her own way, solo way. Chaka Khan's star has been rising a lot during her tenure in Rufus, and the other in the band weren't too happy about her going solo. But they were together for the album after that, Master Jam, also a fantastic album. But this is a real great album. And Street Player, of course, a song that Chicago also made a cover of for Chicago 13. And 1979, we have Radio with Ray Parker Jr. It's easy today to forget that Ray Parker Jr. actually once were a fantastic soul artist. More or less, I like to say that Ghostbusters song, as catchy and fun that it is, actually nostalgia nonetheless, but that song actually destroyed very much of what was great with Ray Parker Jr., because after that he tried to make albums and songs that sounded more or less like Ghostbusters and try to repeat that. But before that, he did so fantastic soul. He was a fantastic guitar player and funk artist, and with Radio, his band, that were made real great albums. And this one from 1979, Rock On, is also a fantastic album. real funky. So 1980, we have a band that, of course, I had to have this band also with, because it's also one of my absolute favorite bands. Talking about Earth, Wind and Fire. But 1980 was another very hard year, but not because I didn't have that much from that year, but because it came so much great soul during the year 1980. When it comes to commercial and songs and hit chart songs, 1980 wasn't my favorite years. But when it comes to soul music, it definitely is one of my favorite years, actually. So much great. But I felt I wanted to have some Earth, Wind and Fire, so I picked Faces. This amazing double album set that Morris White himself have said is one of his absolute favorite albums of the Earth, Wind and Fire catalog. Take It to the Sky, Let Me Talk, Back on the Road, Song in My Heart. So amazing songs here. So that was soul music from 70 to 1980. And there will be more 70 soul, hopefully, because I love 70 soul, definitely. So until next time, I think that I will do a vinyl CD update next. I have, so I can do something that looks like a 70 vinyl CD update. So until then, I hope that every one of you have a real happy Easter. Eat a lot of eggs. I'm not all that fond of eggs, so you can have my egg. But happy Easter, everybody, and take care, and so long.